Today, we are talking about how the start of school can impact the student's eating disorder and what signs teachers and coaches can be on the lookout for to help students who may be struggling. Hi, Tamra.
Good morning.
Tamra, what is it about the start of school that makes talking about eating disorders so important?
So starting school can be just such an exciting time for many young people. Just can't wait to get back into the structure of school and certainly back with their friends. But individuals who develop eating disorders or who may be at risk to develop eating disorders tend to be very anxious individuals, and they can struggle with low self-esteem. Even though they're very perfectionistic and very often very high performers, they don't experience themselves in that way. So any transition going from grade school to middle school to high school, starting a new school year is kind of fraught with potential fears. They struggle with what I call the what ifs. What if I don't make friends? What if my teachers don't think I'm performing in the manner that they expect for me? Just a lot of unknowns. And they really do like to be able to predict outcome. So the eating disorder gives them some sense of control, something to organize around when there's all of these uncertainties. And we're certainly living in a time with even greater uncertainties coming out of COVID and school shootings and the things that have occurred just within our culture. So it can be a very anxious, fearful time for these individuals.
Yeah. It's understandable how this time can be challenging for our community.
Mhm.
So, people often think eating disorders are about food, but what are they really about?
They're really an effort to cope with underlying emotional states. When a person is anxious and fearful, when they're faced with the unknown, they may turn away from food to cope, or they may turn to food to cope. When a person restricts, it blunts their affect. And so things that make them anxious and fearful, they feel they can better control. It also gives them a set of rules that they once again can follow when things outside of their world feel out of control. For people that turn to food to cope, it can actually comfort them, and it can provide them with a sense of numbness, kind of takes the edge off of those very dysregulated emotions.
So, Tamara, what are three signs, warning signs, teachers and coaches should be on the lookout for that may indicate an eating disorder?
I think if I think we do not want to just look at the person's size and shape and think that we can in any way identify an eating disorder. Individuals that are engaged in eating disorders begin to struggle with being able to concentrate and focus. They very often begin to show signs of isolation. So they pull away from relationships because the eating disorder takes up 95% of their brain. They become preoccupied with thoughts about body weight and food. And you can't see that, but you can see changes in the individual's behavior, certainly in terms of interpersonal relationships.
So, if these signs are noticed, how can a teacher or a coach begin a conversation with a student they think may be struggling with an eating disorder?
So I think it has to be a conversation, not a confrontation, that you approach it with empathy and curiosity, that you do it one-on-one, that you might talk with the student in terms of really identifying things that you have noticed yourself, not hearsay, not something that other students have said or other teammates. I have noticed that you're not joining in with the team in some of the after school activities, that you're not coming to the team meals. Maybe one of the trainer notices that the student looks like they're overtraining, that they're training outside of the regular hours, and that they may be struggling more with injuries. So anything that you can specifically identify to address that really expresses, I see you and I care.
And to follow up with that, what are some resources teachers and coaches can access for more information and tips?
Certainly the NEDA website has wonderful resource library. So there are national organizations that you can reach out to get resources to provide the student. I think you also want to look at your local community in terms of programs. providers that work specifically with disordered eating or eating disorders, and to be able to invite those people into the schools to do presentations or provide reading materials and resources.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And more tips and information on eating disorders can be found on our website at mynida.org.
Thank you.